Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Small Business Growth Podcast. I am so happy that you're here. Here we like to learn in a fun, conversational type of way. I like to say it's kind of like sipping coffee with a biz bestie. So instead of like a talk show, me preaching at you, even though today's episode might feel a little preachy, we are not scripted and we're not here just like badgering you like some of those other podcasts. If you are new here, my name is Madison Page and I am just going to take a second to welcome you, say I am so glad that you're here. Here we like to learn, we teach people how to stand out and sell out on social media by building a ride or die community around your brand. So we really dive into the community side, social media, entrepreneurship, lifestyle tips, whatever that might be. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a pep talk. So we're going to talk about what it's like to have big goals and your major permission slip to go all in on them. Because there's a lot of people out there that might doubt you, that are going to say, I don't know about that. Everybody, if you talk to anybody that is successful, they have had people, they have their one-liners, they have the people that have said the things, and you gotta learn some thick skin, and you have to learn that those big goals are the catalyst to the incredible freedom that you can build inside of your life. So we're going to dive into that topic. If you need the permission slip, today's episode is your permission slip. It might be one to save for a rainy day, maybe after Christmas when somebody on Christmas Eve tells you something and makes a comment and you want to re-listen to it. This is a good one to save and to share and to re-listen over and over and over again. If you are new here, make sure that you are subscribed. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. You'll get notified when we do put them out, as well as when you subscribe, it pushes this podcast out to other people so they can get these pep talks and the strategies as well. So if you love the podcast, it takes 5 seconds. Go ahead and subscribe, whether you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple, or if you haven't heard, we have transitioned over to YouTube as well. And there's a good bunch of you that really love to watch on YouTube, either and or the podcast. So if that is up your alley, you want to actually have a conversation face to face, like the conversations that we have, head over to YouTube. But without further ado, let's dive into today's pep talk. We're having some fun today, and this one might feel a little preachier than normal, but it is a topic that I really want to sink into. I know I say I don't script I like mine to be conversational, but I at least normally have an outline. Today we have no outline. It's just me truly speaking from the heart on this topic that I know so many people really do struggle with, and that topic is what it's like to have big goals when you're surrounded by people that don't have the same entrepreneurial goals as you. Whether that goal is to go full-time in your own business, to make $100,000 a year, to make $400,000 a year, to make $1 million, or to be able to retire your husband, or to build this business, to get it into stores and to have a legacy around your brand. There are so many big goals out there. Maybe you have a podcast, whatever that might be. And this is your place, and this is your permission slip where I fully understand and support every big goal that you have when it comes to business or life, whatever. Why? Because there's plenty of things in my own dang life that I would never have thought that I would be here, but my goals were there and I persisted and I made them happen. And what that is it means that you have to believe in yourself even when people don't quite believe in you. And not everybody's going to understand your big goals. That was something that I deal with all of the time. And it's something that at a certain point, you own your own goals. You are the only one that has to understand them, and you are the only one that has to live with yourself every single day, whether or not you achieve or you are chasing those goals. And let me tell you, when you actually dive in, you've had these goals for a long time, and you actually say, you know what? I'm going to do the dang thing. I'm going to make it happen. You truly are proving to yourself that you are worthy. You are worth it. And sometimes those comments stop really making a big deal to you anymore. I have had people ask me, Maddie, what are you going to do when your business fails? This was when I was starting. and I was basically just building my business. I had a couple of clients at this time. They were like, what are you going to do when your business fails? That was one of my good friends at the time. I had people while I was working, I was bartending at my family's old business, and somebody came up to us and said, they would be like, what do you do off season? And I'd say, oh, like I have this business, I do marketing, whatever. And they'd be like, hi, isn't that kind of ambitious for somebody like you? For somebody like me that they had met 30 seconds ago that was just working behind the counter. I've had people say, dang, like I didn't know we had somebody that was so audacious in the family, or something along those lines. And honestly, at the point that you are chasing these big dreams, you are a disruptor. You're doing things that are different than the rest. You are coming from the same place as everybody else, and you are choosing to do things differently, and that is going to cause conversation. I know there's people that I have met that have gone and talked to people about me. I know that there is people that have said, dang, like, what is she doing? Like, I can't believe this is the path that she's chosen. Or that, like, dang, does she really think that's going to be something that can be successful? And at the point that you choose to chase them, the point that you get to when you finally start seeing these goals start to pay off, and you start hitting that first, like, holy shit, this is possible month, this, oh my gosh, like I'm making this happen, this is going to happen. It is so much sweeter when when those people make those comments and you can just say, yep, it's going great. Why? Because you can be so confident in yourself that like, no, like I know my business is pretty dang cool. I know my products are awesome. I know I don't have a little business, little side hustle, or your little Instagram thing working. Like I know my business is more than that, and that's all that matters. It takes a level of self-confidence to be able for people to make those comments and you to be unbothered. Now, of course, there's still the comments that cut a little deeper than the rest, where it still can bother you forever, but you have to prove it to yourself that you are bigger than some of those comments, or you're bigger than what other people believe, or the judgment of your friends out there. One of the major quotes that I love is people that matter don't mind, and people that mind don't matter. I think it's Dr. Seuss, but it is one of my absolute favorite quotes because it's so true. You'll hear it and it might be kind of cliche, but people that are ahead of you never judge you from where you're at. Why? Because it's only the people behind you or in different stages, or they didn't have the guts to actually chase these big goals that care that you're doing it. It's the people that you grew up with that have stayed at the same spot and aren't willing to be the disruptor, to do things differently like you are, that they're either jealous or they're insecure in some way that comment needs to be said. Of course, there's the comments that people have no idea that they're making, and they are so well intended. And those aren't the ones we're talking about. And it's the ones that people are oblivious to what they're saying. And a lot of times that is the fact that's there. But what I'm really saying, this isn't even about what other people are doing. It's about that you had the guts to actually chase the goals that so many people are okay sitting in a cubicle for 30 to 35 years, retiring and calling it good. But you aren't. You have bigger goals than that. You want a fulfilling life from now. You don't want to have to work your whole life so you can live the last 15 years, 15, 20, 25 years of your life and actually able to live. You want to be able to live every day and know at the end of your life that you actually chased those goals. Because I know that's who you are, because you're here and you're listening to this podcast, and that is who I have in my community. Are those big goals. They want a legacy, they want to last a long time, and they want the freedom throughout their life. And there's a lot of people out there that have those big goals, and it's scary because you can be in rooms with people that don't have big goals, or that don't want to talk about their business or how their growth or how much money they made in their business this month, because it's their taboo topic sometimes. But you want to be different. And I want this community to be the safest place and the biggest permission slip ever that doesn't have to be that this is a safe space for you, that it doesn't have to be where you just live a normal mundane life. My life is the farthest thing from mundane. Is it normal for me? It feels normal, but sometimes I start talking to people about it and they're like, oh my gosh, like that is pretty crazy. I'm 25 years old. I live out of a bus. I have a full business. I have a podcast, And right now I'm not in my bus. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm house sitting for the winter in this gorgeous home and parked my bus, but I am very sad about it. But the bus will be back in the spring once it warms up. But I live out of a bus. I have a full business. I have a podcast. I get to do fun things whenever I want. I have this freedom. And to me, it feels mundane. To me, it feels normal. But to other people, it does look different. It does look kind of weird. And to groups of people that I'm around, like, it is an odd feeling when you are the one that has the big goals in a group. I've done it. I do it all the time, and it's never going to go away. That feeling of, oh my gosh, like I just don't know. Am I weird for having these big goals? Am I the only one that has it? You aren't. And this is your permission slip to chase it. I have people all the time, because in one of my applications, for actually all of my applications for my programs, I ask them what their biggest goal is in life. Like, dream big, get delusional about it, get dreamy about it, and have fun with it. It's actually, honestly, I don't like the delusional term. That just like kind of popped up. But they're not delusional. Your big dreams aren't delusional. They are strategic, and they're they are absolutely possible. I kind of don't like the be delusional about it topic of like be delusional about your goals or just show up delusional that they're going to happen. You're not showing up delusional. You're showing up strategic, and you're showing up with action and purpose, and it's possible for you to make those goals. So they're not delusional. But what I was saying, tangent, is on one of my applications, it's tell me your dreamiest goal. What is your biggest goal in life? Where do you want to be? What does that look like for you? And a lot of people say, like, Maddie, don't think I'm crazy. Or they like put some sort of disclaimer in there, like, I am going to be like, oh my gosh, this girl's crazy. She wants to make $100,000, or she wants to be in a store. No, like, this is the place where I want you to dream big, because it is possible for you. I have had clients that have 30x'd their sales in the first 5 months, and they couldn't believe the change in their life when they started this business, when they decided to go all in on it, finally start showing their face, finally kick that judgment to the curb, and they really just decided that this was going to happen. This is your permission slip to have big, audacious goals and chase the absolute heck out of them. Why? Because they are possible. And I think it's a Teddy Roosevelt quote that says, believe in it being possible and you're halfway there, or something like that. Believe you can do it and you're halfway there, somewhere along those lines. And that truly is the battle. The moment that you kick the judgment to the curb, the fears of maybe it's not going to happen for me, maybe I'm crazy, half of it is you just showing up confidently, over and over and over again, taking actions as if these goals were happening. What would the girl or the boy or the person do that has already achieved these goals and show up as that person? If you can do that, because then at that point you are showing up as if you have already you've already made those goals. Don't wait for the day like, well, when I feel X, Y, and Z, when I finally hit X, Y, and Z sales, when I do these things, I will then do that. If you have a ton of the if and when in your brain, you're already saying that you don't know if it's ever going to happen. If that happens or when that happens, I will then take these actions. But you're actually waiting until you are successful to start making successful actions. And so when we have to think about our business and our goals as if, okay, what would I be doing if I hit that $500,000 a year mark? What would I be doing? And I'm going to start taking those actions. Of course, there's some barriers there. You might have a full-time job right now. You might not have the income to do some things. However, you have to make your mindset set at when this happens, this has already happened, what am I doing? There is no plan B. I'm making it happen. I am being that trailblazer disruptor that I want to be. I am my own business icon. You've heard me say this before because it is so huge. I don't want you to look at everybody else for inspiration. I want you to look at you. When you are your own business icon, like when you are making $1 million, when you have the podcast, when you are in the store that you want to be in, how would you be acting? What would that look like? And become your own business icon now. Who would you be investing in? What habits would you have? What would you be doing differently? And do those things now. This is your permission slip that those things are not crazy. They are not real. They are actually your secret sauce to making this thing happen for yourself. They are your, oh my gosh, it's finally here that you can go and do those things. Those things are the secret sauce to making it happen. Because a lot of times they're the things that are unique. They're the things that different. By you playing small because you're afraid of these big audacious goals, these big goals that you have, these big numbers that you want to hit, because you are afraid of them, you are not taking action as if they are possible right now. And you are showing up as if it's a possibility, so you're showing up as small. You aren't pursuing those big, funny, real ideas or those goofy ideas that you have or that product that you would love to make when you have a bigger audience. You aren't pursuing those things because you're waiting for that to happen. But what if you actually pursued the big things now at the size that you are now, knowing that it is possible, that it'll come sooner if you actually show up as that person? So it's really easy to get lost in the shuffle as if these goals are too big or nobody else around me is making them. I want to tell you that there are people out there that are chasing goals similar to yours and achieving them because they are doing what we're talking about here. Because they've said, nope, this is going to be the case. How many people do you see on Instagram where you're like, damn, I just wish I could have the confidence that she has to do the things that she's doing? How many people are there out there? But you can do those things right now. You are the 100% dictator of your own habits, your own actions, your own day-to-day, and what you choose to actually go out and do. You get to decide what all of those things are. You get to decide what your day-to-day is. You get to decide how much you actually chase some of these goals. You are the decider of what this all looks like. And so you are the only one that has to live with yourself day to day to day, week to week to week, month to month to month, that gets to look at it and say, oh my gosh, like I actually did that. This time next year, at the end of December or early January or whenever you're listening to this episode, this time next year, do you want to say, holy cow, I did that? Or do you want to say, dang, I wish I would have gone harder at it. I wish I would have just done it sooner. Because let me tell you, the moment that you actually start to see these results coming back, you were like, dang, I just wish I would have done X, Y, and Z things sooner. Because the catalyst that brings your results is the thing that you are going to look back and say, oh my gosh, that is really, I can't believe I did that. For me, it's my podcast. I have a lot of people that do what I do that say, I just can't wait until I get to the point that I can have a podcast that like is the reason that I'm out there, is the reason that my clients are coming in from my podcast, or when I can have a podcast. I started my podcast incredibly early on in my business. I started my business in November of 2019 and doing social media management and things like that. And I started my podcast in March of 2020. Which means I was like a 4-month-old, at least business in this sense. I was doing a lot of other stuff prior to that in business, but I started this podcast 4 months after I started the business, and it has been the number one driver of my sales, my clients, my community, new people finding me. I enjoy my podcast so much. Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite parts, and it has been one of the catalysts of my growth. I don't know where I would be without my podcast, but it was something that a lot of people said, like, wow, why are you starting your podcast so early? Like, do you think it's going to be hard for you to get traction and get downloads? And I've literally barely marketed this podcast and it's grown itself to well over 100,000 downloads. That is incredible because it shows, and I have people all the time that come over to my Instagram and they're like, Maddie, I can't believe you don't have hundreds of thousands of followers. I listened to your podcast and I thought that you did. And they can't believe that, like, the quote unquote size of my business, but it's because I went all in on my podcast. I do it twice a week. So many people tell me, Maddie, why are you doing twice a week? That is so much content to put out. And I said, no, like, I want to serve my audience twice a week. I'm going to put an episode out every Tuesday and Friday. Is there like a random week every now and then that I might not get to that podcast or that I'm behind because my podcast takes up so much time? Yes. But I also know every single time I show up on my podcast, all the time people are like, okay, like they're there, they're listening. There's hundreds of people. It touches hundreds of people that are my warmest and my hottest leads every single time. It's been my catalyst to my growth, but it's also been the number one area that I get judgment in my business, where people are like, are you sure you want to do twice a week? Are you sure you want to start a podcast this early? Like, what are you going to talk about? But I knew that I was going to make it happen. It was going to happen. And my major growth for the next year is to actually start marketing my podcast and get bigger reach. And now, can you imagine if I started my podcast now? I don't even want you to say this because I know this is going to cause some of you guys to go back. But my podcasts from 2020 are terrible. Like, I sound so awkward. They probably were a little bit more scripted than they were, but I started messy and I did the dang thing. And now I feel so confident sitting down in front of a camera and having these conversations with you. And so if I would have waited, I now would have the learning curve until I am at the point for another couple of years. Where would my clients be? Where would my business be? I am so glad that I started this podcast and that I really just decided when I was in a senior year of college and I started this business and I started the social media, I'm so happy I started when I did. And instead of saying, oh my gosh, I wish I would have started it sooner, I just did it. If I have something that I'm like, ooh, I'll do that one day, I start to try to make action on it now because your big goals are possible and your big goals can happen. And so I just really want this podcast episode to resonate with you, to tell you that your goals are not crazy. If I went around, you do have to know your audience sometimes. You can't go around telling everybody that your goal is to make $500,000 a year in your podcast or in your business. And I'm happy if you own it. However, if you don't want that judgment of the response that you're going to get in the back, you need to know your audience. And that is number one thing that you will learn is it's good to be confident in your goals. If people ask me, I'm happy to tell them any number, anything that's going on in my business. However, it's not something that you go around and you just like tout all of your big goals. You need to understand the people that are out there that are also goal-centered. You need to build yourself a community. And that is one of the most special things inside of my masterminds is people say we stay in touch. I talk to people that we were inside of these programs with. Why? Because they have equally as large goals that they then are put into rooms. Get into rooms of people that have these goals. Why? Is because you'll see that they're not that abnormal. And maybe you'll even see that your goals aren't even that big. When people tell me their goal is to hit $100,000 in sales in their business, I say that is so incredibly doable. It is not hard to hit $100,000 in your business. Why? You need to sell, I think it's 4 $47 items a day. That's all you got to do. And in order to do that, once you start breaking it down, once you start figuring that out, it's not impossible to do these big goals that you have. Your goals can be probably double what they are right now because it is possible. There's people out there that are doing what you are doing and that have tried it and they've made it happen, and you can do it too. And I think that's the number one thing that I want you to know is that once you get into the right rooms, again, people that mind don't matter, people that matter don't mind, and people that are ahead of you are never going to judge you from where you are right now. And that's point blank. People that are who you want to be, your idols, are not judging you from where you are right now because people that are ahead of you are just so proud that you are doing the dang thing too. It's only people that are behind you or insecure about what you're doing that are going to judge you for where you're at. And so it's only you against you. Get inside of rooms that have these big goals. Make connections with people. I have spent thousands of dollars just getting into rooms of people that have big goals, bigger businesses than I do. This year, one of my major goals was to make a group of friends and to make a community of people that have goals that are as big as mine or bigger. I want to be the least successful person in the room that I'm in. And it doesn't mean that I only surround myself with people that are successful, but I want to have people that I can lean on that have these big goals. You got to get in the room. You got to know your audience sometimes, and you have to have the confidence because you're proving it to yourself. How do you get more confident in anything? It's not by affirmations. It's by proving it to yourself that it's possible. I'm all for affirmations, but I'm all for actual action and prove to yourself that it's possible. The easiest and quickest way to get over imposter syndrome or to get over, I don't know if that's something that I can actually do, is just do it. And you prove it to yourself like, okay, I did that. That's pretty dang cool. And then at that point, you can say, there are days that I am so overcome by the amount of growth that my business has had this year and from the business that I have, the life that I have, that I literally can listen to a song and I will cry, or I can sign a client and I can cry. I can look at numbers and I can cry. Now, granted, your girl's a sap, okay? I am one of the sappiest people ever. However, the gratitude that you will have when you do just go all in and you start seeing it happen for yourself is so immense. Like I literally just took a deep breath because I could feel myself getting sappy now around it. It is worth every single comment. It is worth every single dollar. It is worth every single minute that you spend to it when you do get to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've done this. It is the gratitude that you feel is worth everything. Get in the right rooms. Know your audience when you're speaking to it, and understand and take this as your permission slip that your goals are not crazy. They are not weird, and they can happen. And this is an episode that you can save for a rainy day when you're feeling like it's never going to happen for yourself. It can happen, and it will happen if you take the right actions and you have the right goals, you have the right mindset around it. It is all possible for you. I believe it, and I hope you believe it too. Realize I am so in your corner. I am here to support you. Some of my clients literally say, Maddie, I just want to be in your world because I want an outside person to speak to about these. I want somebody out there that will come to me and say, hey, this is what you're doing. Hold me accountable. Be the loving person in my world, and I'm so happy to be that for you. I want to resonate. I want to be there to provide ideas and support, and maybe something that you don't think about in your own life because I've been in business for years, and maybe that isn't I want to be that person that you were like, okay, Maddie, I know that you believe in me wholeheartedly. Tell me how to get there, and I can do that. Tell me your goal, and we can reverse engineer in order to get you there. I am here for you. When I say that, I don't say that just because it's a cute little thing to say. I say it because I believe it. The minute you are in my world, the minute you follow me on Instagram, the minute we start a DM conversation, the minute you are my client, I see your goals, I believe in you, and I'm holding you accountable to those goals. So if you want to come into my world, I will call you out. If you're if you're not implementing the things, I'm going to say, hey, what's the deal? Where is the gap in what you're doing, or where can I support you in order to make that happen? I'm here for you. I'm not in this business just to have another community out there, or have another person on social media that's saying to start a business. I am out there because I believe in you and I love it, and I would do this business for free every single day. And because I truly want to support, my major mission statement, and I have it written everywhere, is I want to make entrepreneurship easier for you and seem more possible for you, for anybody that is willing and wants to take the dive into entrepreneurship. I am here. I want to make it easier for anybody that is crazy and amazing enough to want to become an entrepreneur in their life, to chase these big goals, because it is a lonely place if you don't know that there's other people out there and having people root for you. Get yourself in a room of people that really root for you and that have bigger, if not similar, goals to you. So I'm here for you. I know I say it every single episode, but your goals are not too big. I'm in your corner. Your goals are possible, and I can't wait to see the growth that you have in 2024, because if you just switch that mindset and you take this permission slip, your goals can be absolutely far exceeded in 2024. I am here for you. If you are looking for support, come hang out with me on Instagram at This Is Madison Page. I love stalking your profile. Send me a nice little DM. Say that you're loving the podcast. You better believe I'm checking out your profile, and I'm rooting for you. You're in my world, and I'm holding you accountable to those big goals. Tell me your big goals, and I'll be right there being like, yes, I can't wait to see that come through for you. If you want to go all in and you want some support, we got support going into 2024, and I'm here to be your support person. I love you. I'm rooting for you, and I'm in your corner always. I hope you have a wonderful day, and get out there and chase those big